I remember one time specifically, we were at a restaurant together and you just kind of like looked at me really seriously and were like, hey, I want this life with you, but if you don't want it with me, like you need to let me know.
But for me, I just knew how important a lifelong commitment was.
Yes.
And I was fully bought into you and I knew who you were, but I just didn't want to trap you.
Choose your hard.
Yeah.
It's like breaking up is hard, but being married to the wrong person is hard.
Yeah, it is. Choose your heart.
So we didn't talk to each other for 2 months. In that 2 months, we really like processed who we were as individuals, what our relationship was like, and what our futures could look like together.
Yeah.
So today we're gonna talk about 4 things we're glad we did when we dated. Dating can be complicated, but it can also be a lot of fun. And so we're gonna share.
I was thinking about dating.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's almost like two major schools of thought when it comes to dating. And it's like on a spectrum. One side is like dating is fun, casual, don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
The other side is like dating is the next step towards marriage.
Yeah. People treating their dating relationships like they're already married almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like on this side, when we look at the spectrum where it's like casual, very casual on this side, and then very formal and serious on this side, I'd say we landed somewhere here.
So
like,
towards formal?
Towards like taking it very seriously. We had a lot of fun. We enjoyed our time together. We had great conversation, but we were dating intentionally. So I wanted to share that as a bit of a framing and a context to give people
Yeah, that's good.
to know like, okay, that's their approach to dating. This is mine. This is how I can maybe apply some of the things that they mentioned, but not all of them. So I wanted to name it with name that or start it with that, so that people recognize that it's super subjective and it depends on your philosophy when it comes to dating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What is the first thing that you are glad we did when dating?
Okay, the first thing that I'm glad we did is that we were really honest about who we were. We tried to be as honest as we could be, as self-aware as we were at that time of our lives. We were honest about our flaws, about our downfalls, about just who we were. We didn't try to hide anything. We didn't try to be someone we were not. And I think that was important.
And I think that like obviously this came in waves.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't all at once.
First date,
So
my deepest, darkest secret.
There's bit of nuance to that because it's like as we hit date number 8, there were conversations that we were having that we weren't having at date number 2.
Yeah.
And same with 16 versus 8. And so why I like this point is because it's like a deeper level of honesty. It's not just like the I'm not lying to you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is something that is a passion of mine that will have to be a part of my life as I look forward to the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, or this is a part of me I don't often share with people.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing to share it with you because I want you to know this side of me.
Or these are my pet peeves, or these are some family dynamics, or this is how I act when I'm stressed. And why I like this tip is because it gives the person you're dating a fair chance at fully understanding who they're engaging in relationship with.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm getting to learn you when we're going like for a cool romantic date. I'm not getting to know you when we're going to an amusement park. It's like I'm getting to know the deeper layer of you.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting to know like who is it actually that I'm
might be building a life with.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Number 2 is kind of connected to number 1, but it's this idea of bringing each other in on your real lives. So it's not just like the highlights, but this is the mundane, this is the lows. These are the lows of my life. These are the things that aren't so glamorous. And so it's like, I remember one of our first times, like going out or hanging out for a weekend. You were over in the town where I was living at the time. And we went grocery shopping. And you got to see how I grocery shopped, how frugal I was, and the things I would buy and wouldn't buy. And I liked that because when we were out at the grocery store, I also got to see the things, because we were honest with each other. We were communicating. You would say like, oh, you buy that? I would typically buy this. Or at the time you were vegan and I was eating meat. And
I was a bit judgmental.
Yeah,
at the time.
And we got to just see the intricacies of how each other think when it comes to grocery shopping. And I think that couples need to think that way.
Yes.
Can you think of another example of what it could look like for a couple to bring each other in on their real lives?
Yeah, I think like something that comes to mind is me and you used to FaceTime a lot. So this is for any long distance couples out there. I think that you did a really good job of like doing everything you needed to do while we were FaceTiming. So sometimes you'd be like washing the dishes and FaceTiming, and it's because you literally had to. Like because you weren't living at your parents' house, you were living on your own, taking care of your house, had a really demanding job.
Yeah.
And so if you weren't like talking to me and doing things, then you would never sleep, basically. And
I like this tip because it gives the person you're dating an opportunity to see a realistic version of your rhythms and even your cadence when it comes to life.
Yeah.
So they don't expect like, oh, I'm going to get this person's undevoted attention 24/7 because they know that your life is more complex than that. And you're able to give each other realistic. And obviously there were times where we would be on FaceTime and we would just be looking at each other and having deeper or just more focused conversations.
Yes.
But I think that is a really good tip for people who are long distance, where it's like, come with me into my life and I'll come with you into yours. And we're not going to pretend that life is put on pause when we're connecting, because life is not like that.
Yeah, you know? Like if you do merge your lives together, like you'll be doing those mundane things together. So what does it look like to invite them in on those little things? Yeah.
What's the third thing that you would say is like, oh, I'm glad we did that?
Okay, the third thing we did is that we always gave each other outs.
Yeah. Like out of the relationship.
Out of the relationship.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how much I did that to you.
I was trapped. I was trapped. I never had it.
I was like, I'm not giving this guy any out. No. But you were very intentional with doing that to me.
Yeah.
And I remember one time specifically, we were at a restaurant together and we were on a date and just like having a really good day together. And you, again, just kind of like looked at me really seriously and were like, hey, like, I want this life with you, but if you don't want it with me, like, you need to let me know.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. And like, just for context, like, because your vision for life is like big and grand and adventurous and hard and contains a lot of things. And so you just want to make sure I was good with that. And I remember thinking, yes, Daniel, I'm good with that. I want this life with you. And I think that was really respectful, though, to really make sure, like, hey, do you know what you're signing up for?
And another reason I like this concept of giving people outs is that sometimes when you're dating for 1, 2, 3 years, you have memories built, you have a lot of mutual friends, your families know each other, you know each other's families. You can feel as if you're more locked in than you are. And I remember a friend giving me such good advice when I was in a relationship in the past. They said, you're not married until you're married.
Yeah.
So don't date as if you are married.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can date as if you're planning to marry them.
Yeah.
But until you get married, you always have an out. Like being Christian, we would believe that marriage is a lifelong commitment. And so it's like, I think it's so important for people in relationships to always know, like, there's a way out. If you feel like even remotely this isn't, and there might not be anything wrong with the person, but you might feel like, oh, this just isn't the right fit. We're not jiving as well as we should.
Yeah.
And know that it can end, and when it ends, or if it ends, it's freeing not only you up, but the other person up to find the relationship that you're meant for.
Yeah, there's something so powerful about just like holding the relationship loosely.
Yeah,
like without that pressure, without that any manipulation or anything like that. Just being like, hey, I want to be with you, but I want you to want to be with me.
Yeah.
And that's when that true love and true relationship, true commitment can happen. And if there's not that there, then this isn't gonna work.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes when, like, if I were to hear someone say like, oh, I always gave them the out, I can even sense the inner critic in me think like, oh, why were you always giving them out? Were you not really invested into the relationship?
Did you want out?
Did you not like them? Did you want? But for me, I just knew how important a lifelong commitment was.
Yes.
And I was fully bought into you, and I knew who you were, and I was bought into who you were and who you could be. but I just didn't want to trap you. I didn't want you to feel like, oh, we've invested a lot into this relationship, so I feel like we can never get. So even having conversations like that and loosely talking every now and then, obviously not every day, saying like, do you want to out?
Because this wasn't like a common thing.
Yeah, this wasn't like every day. This was like, I don't know, periodically, every like twice a year or whatever.
Every quarter.
We would have that
quarterly.
We have that serious conversation and say like, hey, like, are we still on the same page?
Yes.
Do we want to continue to build on this foundation that we've set?
Yeah.
Or are we going to free each other up to go elsewhere?
Yeah. One last thing I want to mention about this is that it's really hard to do. Like, it's really hard to say to someone you really love and want a life with, like, hey, do you want help?
Yeah, because if you were to say like, yeah, to be honest, thanks for the out, that would be crushing. But I knew you leaving and finding a better suited person for you is better than you being trapped in a relationship that you weren't feeling. And so I think that we always have to remember that there's so many people in the world. There's so many different combinations that could work.
Yeah.
And it's just like the most loving thing for yourself and for the other person is to constantly hold the relationship loosely.
Yes.
And say like, if you are meant for someone else, I want to make sure you're freed up to do that.
Yeah, it's like that saying that's like choose your hard.
Yeah.
It's like breaking up is hard, but being married to the wrong person is hard.
Yeah, it is. Choose your hard. Choose your hard.
Okay, what's the last thing?
Under Armour.
Under Armour? Is that their logo?
No, I don't know. I was going to say Nike, but they're just do it. So Under Armour felt fitting. I don't know if The Rock is sponsored by Under Armour. Just
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Someone correct me. Someone fact check me if that's wrong. I'm pretty sure The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, is sponsored by Under Armour. If I'm wrong,
I love that.
Say it in the comments. The fourth and last thing is...
Okay, the last thing is to take intentional breaks. Or take an intentional break.
At least one.
At least one in your relationship. We have a video about this. I will link it so you can go and watch what our break was like. But basically, we took a break for 2 months.
And this wasn't breaking up.
Yeah, it wasn't breaking up. It was an intentional break. It was like a break to make things more serious almost. A break to... So we didn't talk to each other for 2 months. In that 2 months, we really like processed... who we were as individuals, what our relationship was like, and what our futures could look like together without the like feelings coming in of talking to each other every single day.
Because I think sometimes when you're talking to someone every day, it's almost like the feelings and the emotion and the lovey-doveyness of it get in the way of true
making a good decision.
Almost like objective reasoning.
Yeah, so we did that, and it was awesime.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone's needs to be 2 months
It was hard.
Long. It was hard. Yeah, sorry.
But
it was really
awesome
hard.
For us. It's like broccoli. I actually like broccoli, but asparagus maybe.
Do you like raw broccoli?
No, it's like raw broccoli.
Yeah, there we go.
It's good for you, but
in the moment, not
in the moment, it's hard to chew.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh. Bars.
Bars. But yeah, we did this. Again, it wasn't like provoked by a conflict. It wasn't provoked by, I guess, lack of sureness in the relationship. It was just like, we know that we're going to be spending a lifelong together. Spending our lives together, if this is the right thing. We said, let's take 2 months in an objective way.
Yeah.
Apart from each other.
Yes.
Journal. Think about, talk to mentors and friends about the relationship, and come back with clarity as to whether we want to go ahead with it. And again, this more speaks to not our, I guess, shakiness in our relationship, but more of how important we see marriage to be.
Yeah.
That we wanted to take that break in order to give each other room to truly process as we look to take the next steps.
Yeah, before we took the next step. I think also I want to say, like, not everyone's break has to be 2 months. Like, there's no rules, but I really encourage people to take some sort of time away from talking to each other.
Yeah.
And also, people will think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But
it's worth it.
Stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to say is that these aren't necessarily prescriptive, but they're descriptive, so you don't have to feel advised or pressured into doing something like this. We're just saying that this describes what we did, and we were really benefited from it. So if it can help you, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So comment below any thoughts or questions that you might have. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. We'd love to have you join in on more of our conversations. And share this video with someone who might need it. We'll talk to you guys next week.